Hi guys, welcome back after a long time to another lecture. I've had started with histopathology and I was alternating it with hematology. The last lecture was approximately 2 weeks back. After that, unfortunately, I couldn't record any lecture and upload it due to some personal issues. But now I am back and I hope every week I'll be able to record a lecture and upload from now on. So I won't be wasting too much time. You all know, those who are seeing me for the first time, I normally discuss the troubleshoots and important diagnostic points of the topic that I'm taking, since there are very good textbooks available for each topic, histopathology, cytopathology, and hematology. For all those who are new, I have already finished with cytopathology and now I'm starting with histopath, which I alternate with hematpath. Soon I'll be finishing benign hematpath and starting with malignant hematpath. To those who know me, who listen to my lectures every time, they know that I have also published a book, Manual of Hematology, basically dealing with malignant hematology as small revision points, which is very, very helpful for postgraduates and DM students, and even for pathologists who want a book for just revision purposes. So I hope that you guys will give the book as much love as you've given to my channel, and please share and subscribe to the channel as well as purchase the book. It's just 188 rupees and it is available on the Google. If you type Manual of Hematology and my name, you will see the book there. It's by Ahuja Publication. So I hope you would like that too, and I always receive very, very encouraging comments from all of you. So thank you so much for that. Okay, moving on, without wasting much time, the benign of this has already been discussed. It is there on my channel. You can go and search and listen to it. Most of my videos are like just 15 to 20 minutes long. So moving on, today we'll be dealing with the malignant breast histology. Again, the clinical scenarios remain the same. It's either a patient with a movable breast lump. Movable breast lumps are rarely malignant. It is a patient with a fixed lump, then that is definitely malignant. It's a patient with the bleeding nip from the nipples. It is definitely malignant, something like a ductal papilloma. I mean, it's a tumor. It can be a papillary carcinoma or a papilloma. Then if you get a purely orange appearance of the overlying skin, that is something like an orange. The skin is fixed to the tumor below. The fixation of the tumor can be either to the tissue below the tumor, that is the fatty tissue, the muscle, or the skin is adhered to the tumor. Both the cases, it's malignant. You can get a sentinel lymph node, you can get an axillary mass in the axillary tail. All those things are important. As the age progresses, the chances of malignancy progress. Normally, in cases of breast carcinomas, you have to also work up for ovarian and endometrial carcinomas. BRCA mutation plays a very important role in the advent of breast carcinomas, and Angelina Jolie is a very big example of someone who got both her ovaries and bilateral mastectomy done. She got her ovaries removed and I think the uterus because she had the mutation. And in such females, her mother had breast carcinoma, if I'm not wrong, and that is why she got herself tested for BRCA and she came out positive. And before she could develop a tumor, she got the concerned organs removed. So that is the importance of molecular in breast. And so most of the breast nowadays, just like renal and CNS and blood, has become a lot of molecular, and the treatment is based on molecular. However, we do need to understand a few important histopathological points which help us in differentiating benign from malignant. Do keep in mind that as per the WHO, I have taken a screenshot of that. The malignant breast lesions have a variety of morphological appearances. I will be enumerating them, I will be showing you a few of them, but what you need to remember are the basic points morphologically between benign and malignant, the important IHC, the important molecular classification that is given in the Robbins, and how does that molecular affect the treatment and prognosis. Okay. So this is the basic approach. You should know about Biraj scoring. It's a radiological scoring parameter because with the help of the Biraj, sometimes we make the FNAC diagnosis of malignancy and even sometimes the histological diagnosis of malignancy. Presence of microcalcifications and macrocalcifications is equally important. Also, I have not taken the grossing of breast. I am going to take it sometime later where I will tell you just the grossing, how the grossing is done, what are the different colors by which the different areas of the mastectomy, modified radical mastectomy specimen is what I'll be taking. Small biopsies are easy, small lumps are lumpectomy specimens are easy. Mostly to these days, skin nipple sparing and skin sparing surgery is done. You can get that also, but in as an MRM specimen. So I will be dealing with how many sites does an MRM specimen have, how do you bread loaf the specimen, what color inking goes where, what is the importance of tail, and what how many sections should you be taking, how many lymph nodes should you be analyzing. I'll be taking all that one I take the grossing. Today I'm just telling you the malignant histology and the basic difference between benign and malignant. So here I have a panel of pictures where there are some benign and some in the spectrum of malignant lesions. This is a sclerosing adenosis where a lot of proliferation of the gland is seen in this sclerotic stroma. Most of the people, amateur students, MDs, mistake it as a malignancy because of the crowding of the gland. However, you have to see the presence of benign looking cells, variable size glands with myoepithelial cells, and basically they have a star shaped pattern. And then here comes the importance of radiology in histopathology, where you see for if there are any microcalcifications present or not, how heterogeneous the mass is, because microcalcification and more heterogeneity is there in malignancies as compared to benign lesions. And when you look at this image in a higher power, you are going to see that the cells are mostly benign. It's just that they are arranged in a stellate pattern. However, this can maybe in future develop into a carcinoma if unattended. Fine, then this is apocrine change. You can see a lot of vacuolation at the tip, which is going to go into the lumen. Yeah, sometimes in lactating adenomas, you get these back-to-back glands with these vacuolations. This is a benign hyperplasia where you see sharp holes, no Roman arches, nice benign. Now, this thing is benign, and here you can see, so these things, these are myoepithelial cells, means whatever the changes are limited to the duct, to the gland, they have not infiltrated the surrounding stroma. However, over here also you might see somewhere, okay, how this is maintained. There are some myoepithelial cells over here also. This is just intact basement membrane where cells which we highlight by P63 mostly. However, you see that the proliferation here has these arches going from one end to the other, and the cells have more pleomorphism as compared to this, and this is more of a DCIS, that is carcinoma in situ. This is nothing, this is just a tubular adenoma, okay? And you'll see some epithelial cells and benign looking tubules with secretions in the lumen. And see, this is highly malignant, nothing can stop you from saying that. And there's necrosis in the center. So this is at DCIS with comedonecrosis, and sometimes even in carcinoma, malignant ductal carcinoma, you get such kind of appearance. And sometimes there's something called the comedocarcinoma where you get a lot of comedonecrosis in a ductal carcinoma. So basically, a normal duct can be something like this, slit-like with proliferating cells, stromal cells, and a layer of benign cells. This is a normal acinus over here. Atypical hyperplasia, if it is lobular, you're going to see such benign looking lobules, but increased in number. And in ductal, you are going to see these Roman arches and cribriform ducts. So what are the features of atypia? That is crowding of the glands, pleomorphism and hyperchromasia. This is cribriforming, that is Swiss cheese appearance, abnormal mitosis. I have shown you Roman bridges or Roman arches, and necrosis. So these two last things are most important. Fine, over here is a Roman arch. You see like this. These are arches like in churches, etc. The Roman architecture. So that is what a Roman arch is. So in a ductal carcinoma in situ, what you get are these ducts. The basement membrane has not been breached, but you get these Roman arches and atypia. You can also get necrosis. You can also get this kind of a papillary projection without any core in the center. So I can call it pseudopapillary. The cells are more monomorphic, cohesive, and arranged in a cribriform architecture. Lobular, again, more monomorphic cells arranged in lobules in a sclerotic stroma. No infiltration in the stroma is seen. Here, the cells, as compared to this, there are no Roman arches, they are loosely cohesive because in the molecular E-cadherin loss is there, and what does E-cadherin do? Stick one cell to the other. So when this E-cadherin is lost, that is, it is gone, then the cells become loosely cohesive. All right. So now this is a ductal carcinoma. You'll have to go through the classification to to stage it. Then there's a Bloom-Richardson's classification to help you grade it, and then you have to see whether it is in sheets or in tubules, how much nucleoplasm is there, whether there's necrosis or not. There are multiple features of Bloom-Richardson's which you have to use to grade the tumor. And this is an invasive lobular carcinoma. The cells still appear monomorphic, but they are in an Indian file pattern, that is, cells are in a line and invading the stroma. This is a metastatic in the lymph node. See, a lot of lobular carcinoma is there. See, okay, and it is going in a single line in the lymph node. Normally, the area that you should look is this, the subcapsular area. Since this is a low power, it is a little different to show you. Other variant can be see there's chondroid differentiation in a breast carcinoma. This is an inked specimen. So you'll get some hint of some sort of breast stroma somewhere, and then you are going to get this picture. So you know that this is a breast carcinoma. Then there's a papillary carcinoma. You all know about it. You'll see a stalk. There's adenoid cystic salivary gland-like tumor. All this is variants of breast carcinoma with some eosinophilic secretion in the center. So this is the classification with the various types of carcinoma, and this I found on the net where they have made that what a hyperplasia is multiple epithelial cells with some macrophages, etc. Just a difference that I need to tell you. In an adenoma complex, the cells are not scattered like this, they become clumped, fine, and then there are some stromal cells. Benign will always have these stromal cells. Malignancy will have loss of stromal cells with clumping of cells with high NC ratio. Basically, this is more of a cellular cytological description rather than histological description. So if you do FNAC and you see large cells with high NC ratio which are forming balls, then that is malignant. You might get stromal cells and some balls with benign looking nuclei, and then that is benign proliferation. So this is more of cytology, less of histology. Macrophages normally accompany a benign lesion as compared to malignant. However, it is not a hard rule. So then TNM staging of the breast, the size 0 to 2 centimeters is T1, T2 is 2 to 5, T3 is greater than 5, and T4 has a number of metastases. Same goes for the lymph nodes. You have to see for the sentinel, that is the first lymph node. Okay, I can't write the word sentinel, but you have to look for it. And then metastasis, definitely you have to learn the AGCC criteria, and for the grading of tumor, please go through the Bloom-Richardson's criteria. ER, Ki67, HER2/neu. This is the basis of molecular classification. ER, they are nuclear. HER2/neu is membranous marker. So as per molecular classification, there's luminal A, B, basal-like, which is triple negative, and HER2 driven, which is just HER2 overexpressed. This is good. Why? Because giving Herceptin, the tumor responds. Fine. Basal-like is the worst. Why? Because all three hormonal markers are negative. So giving a hormonal marker as a treatment won't help. Luminal A and B both have ER/PR. In B, HER2 is overexpressed. And there's an entire panel of all these markers which you can apply in the molecular classification. As you see, there's so many molecular tests where you see the overexpression, the amplification, the somatic mutation, and germline testing. And through Sanger sequencing and next generation sequencing, FISH, etc., there are cutoffs given. in fish, how many fluorescent nuclei you see, you take out a ratio and there's a cutoff for that ratio, and then you see where the HER2 ratio is lying, whether it is positive or negative. See, this is the histogenetic luminal A or B, HER2 and basal. Basal is bad. Sheets and necrosis are present. Everything is negative, but cytokeratin and EGFR are positive. It's worse prognosis. However, if chemo is given, it might respond nicely, and targeted therapy not present. Targeted therapy is there for these two tumors, luminal A, B, and HER2. Excuse me. As I said, luminal A is ERPR, B is ERPR and HER2, and luminal B has an intermediate prognosis. HER2 has bad prognosis. However, HER2 responds to Herceptin and the patient might live. So this is a paper that you can read. Bloom-Richardson scoring I have forgotten to include. When I'm taking the grossing of breast, I'll show you the Bloom-Richardson scoring. So this is the paper that you can read. This is in short about breast. This is something that only a PG requires. I have not taken too much because it will become an overwhelming 15-minute lecture. I will include more points when I take up grossing, which I have missed in this one. This is just a basic to sensitize you to breast. If you have any questions, you can comment or you can message me in the messenger, and I hope you like it. So I'll see you next time.